share my screen. All right. Well, welcome to live session. Today is Wednesday, March 11th already, and this is National University Management 309 Principles of Management and Organizations. Dr. Sands here. Well, welcome. Today, I plan on going over assignment 2 and, of course, answering any questions you may have coming into tonight or any that obviously surface, as we go through it. I've graded all the discussion questions, and I am partway through the what is it's not the it's the it's the uh learning activity for week 1. So I'll have that, and I'll have those finished along with the actual assignment 1. I'll have those done tomorrow for sure. Any questions you have coming into tonight, James?
No, not really. I think everything's been pretty
All right.
self-explanatory so far.
And one more second, my um change speakers. How's that? Can you say something for me, James? Nope, that's not it. All right, one more time. Yeah, for some reason, I don't understand. Like, everything works the same from day in, day out. The sun suddenly, your computer decides to change on you.
But yeah, constant battle.
Okay, well, looks like I'm getting mono sound for tonight. That's all right. We'll just get going.
Sure.
Yeah, I have speakers that, normally the sound comes through these speakers, and then tonight it's just coming out of a little computer speaker. But all right, I won't digress. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into assignment number 2. Well, let's take a look at the discussion.
Sure.
Pretty straightforward, but I always like to at least go over and see if there's any questions. Okay. So for module number 2, this week is especially important for understanding management as a standalone scientific area of study. And management, I think, has been studied 8 ways to Sunday over the time. During this module, you will examine the core functions of management in greater depth. And that's, as we go from week to week, it's kind of like peeling that onion back a little bit each week, getting to the core. These functions from the foundation of managerial practice and explain how managers translate theory into effective organizational action. And that really is the key, because we are surrounded with management practices and theories and how-tos, and which is great because that provides us with the tools that we need to effectively manage in an organization. But of course, we gotta take it a step farther from just being able to know that what tools are at our disposal, but to actually put them into practice and make them work for us. And that's one of the great things, because depending on our style, or the organization we're in, or what's at hand, then we have a broad tool chest to choose from. You will notice that there are more chapters assigned this week. This is intentional, as the nuts and bolts of management are embedded within the central areas. And with the reading from week to week, because it's fast paced and there is a good amount of activity, I always just tell my students to read what you need to get through the assignments, and if anything particular sparks your interest. And then, of course, if you have time, then, read as much as you can. But I always looked at reading, for classes to be really, specific and purposeful, because, at the end of the day, we have to get through, the weeks and the assignments and everything else we have in life on our plate. So, So for this week, the four primary functions of management will focus on planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. And that controlling aspect, it's not like we're controlling like with a ironclad, you'll do what I tell you type of thing, but being able to control the flow of work, control outcomes that we strive for. The goals and objectives we need to accomplish as just part of the management structure. And really, that control is really that. I like to look at it like when for myself in business and leading the project programs, people, etc. I like to clearly, articulate expectations and then provide, like, I always think of it like a plane landing on a runway. Ideally the plane lands right in the middle, but, hey, as long as that plane's on that runway somewhere, within those boundaries, right, then we're good. So I always try and ensure that the guardrails by which we do work are clearly established, because nobody likes to be controlled, like taskmaster. That's just no fun. Be sure to complete all the required readings and activities for the week. Okay. So for this week's discussion, in this week's reading from chapter 4, you examine organizations and the complexities that shape how they function. A key focus was on the four primary approaches, like we just talked about. So, in that, then reflect on your current workplace or previous organization and address the following. Identify the management approach used in the organization. I always like to really have a servant leadership, kind of approach. I always felt and got the best results in, empowering my workforce and helping them be successful. Then you're cultivating, really a learning organization. And when my team's successful, I'm successful. And when I'm successful, my boss is successful, and that just makes for a happy workplace, Provide specific examples of how this approach is demonstrated in the workplace, kind of like I gave a real quick example. Based on what you have learned so far in this course, evaluate whether the approach is adequate or if something is missing and missing, explain the reason. So, but how things are being managed and operated, could be amazing, could be good and effective, but with room for improvement, or just downright horrible. And unfortunately, that exists too. And then, post requirements are the same from week to week. Any questions on that one? Questions or comments, James?
Nope, I don't think so.
Great. All right. With this class, this course, I particularly enjoyed why I teach a number here, and I do like them all. I do particularly like this one because I like how the flow really just it flows nicely between week to week, and then ultimately the goal of learning principles of management and how it all ties together, and really give, like I said a minute ago, give you those tools to pick from.
Sure.
Because we know we know there's no one trick pony for one size fits all.
For sure.
All right. So if we take a look at the assignments, week 2. Okay. So this one is examine management functions, which ties into, what, of course, what the weekly readings, etc. Background. The four functions that we just went through of management have a distinct impact on every organization. Absolutely. Each function guides a specific portion of the organization. And, depending on the size of the organization and structure, like, For example, working at United Health Group, where I worked, was a director there for 13 years or so. As an example, we had like a couple 100,000 employees spread all over the world. Um, I had direct reports in India, Canada, Ireland, and spread throughout the United States. And there's a it's a find that equilibrium and good balance is key and can be a challenge because um, you take in different cultures, like the culture of the folks in India, a little different from the folks maybe who lived in Minnesota. All
Sure. Yeah.
good, but
Right.
just different. And so looking at those four key variables and how to constantly, adapt to make those happen. Or, maybe it's just a small company and there's not a lot of room for variation. So there's maybe more, it's more linear maybe. So. But yeah, that's what makes it fun and challenging. Um, while understanding the four functions of management seems simple, the complexities of each function can be exhausting to keep running efficiently in an organization. Absolutely. So really, no matter what the structure is, you do have that people component, and we know us people can be finicky sometimes. So, um, so this one and this one's kind of fun, I think. I've taught this class a number of times, and most students have end up sometimes being confused because it's different, but then at the same time enjoying it because it is different than just another written analysis, right? So the instructions develop a pamphlet. So let me stop there for a minute. So a pamphlet, and I always think, okay, you're going on vacation and you got to you landed in a plane and you're in the airport and you see all these, vendors and things that rent a cars and vacation excursions and all these things, and they got a pamphlet, all these pamphlets sitting out there, and you pick one up and then you open it, and it's like a trifold, right? So that's if we think about that mental model, ultimately that's kind of what we're creating here. Okay. That's the best visual I could.
That makes sense.
What's that?
So that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and so now ultimately you can use any software you want. Ultimately. Now I have to be able to read it, so it's got to be, ultimately in a PDF. It's got to be in a Word doc, PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint, or PDF. So those are the three I can read. You can use a Word document to create your pamphlet, although Word documents are not the best tool for doing anything artistic. And then or PowerPoint. Now, with a PowerPoint, of course, we got more creative freedom and the way it works. So your PowerPoint slides for pamphlets include the following in each pamphlet. So ultimately, we're creating four. Let's see here. Okay. Define each function, one pamphlet for each function. So the functions what we were talking about, let me go back up here. The four functions of management that we covered a minute ago, looking at discussions have a distinct impact on our organization. Each function guides a specific portion of the organization, and each function is interrelated to one another. The functions of management apply to every organization and can look slightly different depending on the organization. While understanding the four functions of management seems simple, the complexities of each function can be exhausting to keep up running efficiently in the organization. I paused earlier and told a story, so I just wanted to read it end to end. So define each function. Okay, so we got the four, and the first part of this pamphlet is we're going to define each function, and it says one pamphlet for each function, i.e., we go back. I just want to bring those up real quick. So, you're going to have one pamphlet because we've got to do four, and you're going to define what these four are. So, what is planning? What is organizing? That's pretty much just, what is it? So that's one. Um, Prepare, so in each pamphlet, so prepare a scenario for each of the function within the organization. So you can define it, what it is, and then prepare a scenario for each of the functions within the organization. It's like, so planning, okay, how would you do planning in an organization? What does organizing look like in an organization, and leading and controlling as well? So that's where that scenario comes in. Okay. Discuss an example for each function used for innovation or change. Okay. So how would you use planning to innovate or to change? How would you use organizing to innovate and to change? Okay. And then, we're on the fourth bullet. Include visuals, different fonts or blocks for engagement, and ensure it is easy to read. And that's important. That's the thing. Like when creating the pamphlet, yeah, you can do different font sizes and stuff and colors and blocks and make it look cool. It's just be mindful that the color schemes and things. Sometimes folks will put in like a red block and use like orange, colored font, and it looks horrible. You know what I mean? So if you're going to use like just for example, like a red block or like a dark blue block, use, white font color to make sure you can read it and it stands out. Visuals and things, well, I won't elaborate on that. I think it's self-explanatory. If you need more space for your content and organization of the document, it's fine to extend each function to 2 pages. Include a different citation for each pamphlet. So it says include a different citation for each pamphlet. So, as you do your research and bring in your definitions and how your scenario and examples, you want to support that with some sort of reference. Okay. And the references here are for scholarly resources. So, you know, you you can have more than four resources, of course, but four of them have to be scholarly. So, that's something that I do include, references to the book. I know not everybody does, but I do. And then, maybe some article from Harvard Business Review or something like that, that would be considered scholarly. And then the length, this assignment must be 48 pages, excluding title and reference page. So remember, everything we submit, it's got to have, the appropriate title page that, like I went through last week with the particulars, and of course a reference page. So that's always kind of given. Minimum 4 pages because each one would have its defined function, and then it's going to define it, prepare scenario, and discuss examples. But if you need more, then each function could actually have 2 pages. Most folks get it done in one, but you do
Okay.
have the option for two.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the rubric. So this is how, we have all this to-do information here, and then, how I grade it based on the provided rubric, the pamphlets itself, it's done, it's right number of pages and everything, and then you included all four functions, and some examples of, in the scenario, and just the organization of itself, looks good, right? Color and, all that kind of thing. So, pretty easy. I would say pretty easy grading as well on that one.
Sure.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. But, James, any questions on the assignment?
Uh, so it doesn't be like about any specific organization that we pick, right? It's just kind of a general, any organization, like management style within an organization. It's just kind of a general, just to relate to like an organization that we choose, right?
Exactly. It absolutely. They in this assignment they've left that wide open to y'all to determine that. Yeah.
Okay.
Which makes it a lot easier too. It's just you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about that. You know. So
I think
right.
other than that, I think it makes plenty of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a and one of the in this course the assignments are very straightforward because that's not always the case. You got to kind of really dissect them, but I think it was pretty straightforward.
A
All
few
right.
classes like that.
Yeah. Or you need like a decoder key from a cereal box to figure out the assignment. That's no fun. So, all right. Well, James, if you don't have any questions or if there's nothing else you'd like me to walk through tonight, we can wrap it up.
Sounds good. No, I think
Okay.
I'm okay for the week. Appreciate it.
Great, James. Thank you so much. And just as usual, if you have any questions, any guidance, just email me and I will get back to you immediately. If it's over the weekend, you can send a text, which I might be a little slower responding to, but that's always an option if there's a question over the weekend. So,
Some appreciate it.
okay, James, thank you for attending this evening. Hope this goes well for you and have just a great rest of your evening.
You too. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, James.